Happy Friday the 13th. Today I'm your art docent. My name is Vic DeCusin. I'm Elizabeth's dad. And before we get started, I wanted to remind everybody to be safe. Keep clean. Don't get your hands all over your neighbor. And have some well-behaved fun. In art terms, the word medium is basically the thing that you're going to be creating art with. And so our medium today is charcoal. Our subjects today, a subject is what we're going to be doing, is a jack-o'-lantern or a skull. So you guys will have a choice of one or the two. We're going to have some people going to be gathered around actual subject made of styrofoam, like this jack-o'-lantern here. Jack-o'-lantern's a modern symbol of Halloween, and so is a skull. These are styrofoam figures, and I plan to take them home, so let's please be gentle with them if you happen to pick them up, but they're going to be on display for us to draw. Okay. The style that we're going to be doing, the style of art, is realism. You know, there's not going to be any color because it's charcoal. It's going to be pretty much black and white. The reason we're doing charcoal is, of course, to understand shading and depth, creating depth with a two-dimensional piece of paper. One thing that prevents a lot of people from getting, practicing and getting discouraged with art is the words, I can't draw. So, my opinion, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, just make sure that you have a lot of fun, and remember, don't get discouraged, especially since we're doing realism here. We're actually trying to express what you are seeing in with your own two eyes and putting that on paper. So I want to encourage you guys to just have fun, just make sure that you're having a good time with this, and I hope that you learn something and learn something about yourself, and just enjoy the time we have. Now I'm going to talk about the material. Material is going to be 2 pieces of paper. This is the type of charcoal we have. These are a lot smaller than what's in the box, but you guys will be breaking them apart in the box. This type right here is kind of a harder charcoal, and I'll show you guys how to use that in a little bit. And we have softer charcoal. This is, you'll probably hear that this is like vine charcoal, but these are smaller branches of charcoal. These I have another. They're in a separate box, but once you get the hang of using the thicker charcoal, you guys can go ahead and pick up and use some of the thinner charcoal. It gives a little bit. It has a different texture to it when you put the charcoal on the paper. Okay. So the next one's a pencil and eraser. The pencil I'm not going to use as much, but if you want to use a pencil to maybe draw the outlines of the objects and shapes, you can do that. The eraser would be more important today. We're going to be using the eraser to actually lift a little bit of the charcoal off of the paper once we get a lot of the shading down, and this will give kind of the highlights and the light the light shine on the objects that we're drawing. A pen is only used for signing it at the end. We want your signature on your name on your piece of art. This right here I'm going to be using to seal our or what do you call it, fix the art that we're going to be finishing, so that it doesn't smear when we put our hands on it or anything like that. So this will hold it at least until, for display. But I will be doing that at the end. So everybody follow along. This is practice number 1. It's a half sheet of paper. So grab your paper. This is only practice. We want to get the hang of we want to get used to working with the charcoal. So the first thing we're going to do with our practice is how to hold the charcoal. So we grab one of these pieces of charcoal. Everybody should have gotten these. So you're not going to hold it like a pencil, otherwise you'll get a lot of your fingers all dirty. But what I'm going to show you how to do first is let's just try to smooth out the edge. You can kind of see the charcoal doing that, and it's getting smooth on that side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a kind of a bunch of lines here, but I'm going to start dark and then go light. So I want everybody to kind of do that. So go ahead and do that, and then ease up on it a little bit until you kind of fade away. Okay? And then we can go ahead and try to do some blending with our fingers like this. Okay. So you can kind of see this kind of the shading getting from dark to light. Now let's do the reverse, okay? We're gonna try doing this in the reverse. We're gonna go light. Let's see here. So you can see it's already breaking. This thing is already breaking apart a little bit. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna start light and then start getting darker. Okay. So we're just practicing here. So what we're doing is, and then blend it a little bit like this. Okay. So another thing you should have on your table is these tissues. So if you want, you could wipe that off. Actually, what we'll be using this for also is to do some blending with. You can definitely practice and play around with this. You can see it creates a different kind of blend. So it kind of lifts up. You can see a lot of the charcoal gets lifted up a little bit there. Okay. So hopefully everybody's getting some practice. I also got something here called a blending stump, and it's just basically a piece of rolled paper. And what you can do on doing fine lines, you can actually lift up a little bit of the shading or create some type of texture on it. Okay, so that's also a tool that's been used by artists, if you have that. All right, so we've done that. We did the kind of the dark to light and light to dark. You'll get the hang of using the thin charcoal. Okay, so when you finally get to the thin charcoal, if you want to use it, you can sharpen it a little bit. Creates really fine lines like so. Okay, and then I'm just going to play around with this also. Okay, so you can do all kinds of stuff with it. Okay, so we're just practicing. Go ahead and keep going and keep practicing with your charcoal. Draw something. When we were camping this weekend, did that by the campfire, and then the other night, my son and I did these two, and we were actually drawing on the same table, the same skull, but he was positioned in a different spot as I was. So you can kind of see where what the shadow looked like for me versus his. Okay. All right. And let's go ahead and try doing an eraser, see what the eraser will do. Okay, so you can see the eraser there. You can see we could actually okay, so it does lift it up. So once we get to doing the actual subjects, we'll be able to use the eraser to lift up a little bit of the charcoal. Okay, alright, so that's enough of that one. Practice number 2. Practice number 2, we're going to go ahead and use this as a subject, and I'm going to show you guys the method of how we're going to actually do some drawing of the skull and or the jack-o'-lantern. So this one's an easy shape to copy. So it's basically an apple. So we just draw an apple shape, but you can see that there's light on one side and then dark on the other, and then you got a shadow underneath. So the first thing to do is shapes, then shadows, shapes and then shading, and then we'll do the highlights at the end. So that's kind of the method I was doing. So we'll go ahead and draw it like so. Okay, and then we'll draw the little stem like that, and then you can see some of this here. Okay, all right. So now we got the basic shape, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do an outline of the shadow as well. So I'm just going to do a basic outline of the shadow. Okay, all right. So I showed you guys we were doing kind of a tip. I'm going to go ahead and do a sideways type of stroke on the charcoal. Okay. So we do a lot of these lines, and it's going to create a little bit of shape there. Okay, and then I'm going to fill in where the shadow is, obviously darker where it's closer to the apple, and then it gets lighter, it goes away from the apple. Okay, all right, so there's that, and then so what you're trying to do is you're trying to look for the dark spots on the apple. Okay, I think I'm almost done with it there. All right. Obviously, the longer you look at it and stare at it and then work on it, the closer it's gonna get to that. Okay, set that one aside. Okay, my next is I'm going to kind of blend this in here. You can see the shadow kind of fades away the farther it gets from the apple. Okay, you can use your finger, or you can use that one, tissue. Okay. So I think that we're close. We have a little line there and a little thick part of the stem. Okay, all right. So there's your practice. Okay. So I think that that's a good start. We're going from a piece of paper to another piece of paper. So just a reminder, here are the methods. So you start with the shapes, and then you do the shading, and then you do the highlights. And I didn't show anything but about the highlights, but you can certainly, if you have like a few lines there you want to add in, you can use the eraser. Oops, you can use the eraser to create more lines in that. All right. So the next thing is we're going to go ahead and get into the groups and do the project. Hopefully we'll finish by 11 a.m. And I will be watching the time and making sure that everybody gets to finish it and have lots of fun. And thanks very much.